Hi, it's Roz here for a swift scallydandle to Argentina in the company of Samanta Schweblin, who wrote Little Eyes. And I'm doing this in honour of LATINX-A-THON 2020, but I'm a bit late because I realised when I looked it up that although in the US the sort of Latinx Heritage Month goes into the 15th of October, the readathon was actually from the 15th to the 24th of September, so apologies for that. I will link to a couple of the hosts below because it's something that happens every year. So although you're sort of too late to join in now, is one to be aware of for next year. And this meets one of their prompts because it's a book that's been translated, a book in translation. Schweblin, as I said, is from Argentina. Book was published there in 2018, and in English it was published in 2020, so it's a new book, and very ably translated by McDowell, who lives in Chile, I think, and yeah, she's translated quite a few things now. So now this is a book that I have slightly mixed reactions to, which I'm gonna unpick a bit on here with you, if you'll indulge me, and kind of try and come to a bit of a conclusion about what I think about Little Eyes. It's a book. Did I say it's her second novel? Actually, she wrote a book of short stories and then a novella, Fever Dreams, which was very well received, which I'd like to read. So this is her first full-length novel. Okay. But it reads a bit like a collection of short stories, interconnected short stories, except that's wrong because you go back to various of the characters. It's like, it's a book of multiple perspectives, and you're following these different strands, and you visit them, get to know them a bit, then you go to a different strand, then another, and then you eventually come back to the first, or perhaps the other side of the first. To understand the other side, I will have to explain more about the concept of the book. So this is a high concept book. It starts with a really interesting premise, which is the idea of these things called Kentuckys, and they appear to be kind of little fluffy animal toy type things on wheels, and you can buy one and be like a Kentucky keeper, or you can buy the right to be a Kentucky dweller. So you kind of log into this Kentucky, and then you have like a kind of virtual reality sort of life in that alongside your own life. You have to be online to do it, and you can see through the Kentucky's eyes, and you can move the Kentucky, even though it might be in a completely different country from where you live. And then you kind of interact with the Kentucky's owner, or keeper, as it's called. So high concept, dystopian. And so the different threads in the book, sometimes you get to know both the dweller and the keeper, if that makes sense. This means that it's a global book. And this was one of the things that I found very appealing about it. So some of the characters are in Latin America, as you'd perhaps expect from a Latin American author. So Guatemala, Peru, Mexico, and some are in Europe, Germany, Italy, Croatia. And I liked that. And I have to say that multiple perspective books are something that I enjoy if they're done successfully. And all the different characters in this book, the different perspectives, are successful. They're well realised. They work. They're all different, and they're all believable in the sense of, they come to life, which is sometimes a risk. If you hop around a lot, sometimes they don't come to life, or they're just kind of like sort of stereotypes for their or country or whatever. But no, that works. She does that really well. She writes very well I think, Samanta Schweblin. I definitely would read more by her. It's also a novel of ideas, and that's something that I like. So she's exploring the way technology, because it is so useful to us, because it gives us things we want, gives us enjoyment, gives us interest, gives us connection with people far away from us, people maybe we don't know, like BookTube does. You know, here we are all connecting around the world over books. So that because technology offers those things, then sometimes we can get caught up in it and carried away in a way that is risky perhaps to ourselves. And yeah, that's what happens with the Kentuckys, I guess, and that's some of her, yeah, the ideas. But it's about loneliness, I think, and yeah, and human connections. Yeah, it's so a book of interesting ideas. So that's several plus points that I've come to for this book. So, what's my mixed feelings about it? Okay, it's because I feel like she was setting out to do something very ambitious, and when the book ended, I felt like she'd missed the mark. You know, she'd aimed for the skies and she'd only hit a mountaintop. It kind of seemed like it just ended, really. It didn't, like all those interesting themes and characters, and some of the characters kind of get rounded off in a good way, but the themes didn't. Somehow it just felt like, oh, right, that's the end. Do you know when you get to the end of a book, especially on a Kindle, it's like, oh, that's it then? And that, I was so kind of disappointed, I suppose, because I thought there was going to be more, that I went off almost straight away on Goodreads and did like a really sort of grumpy 2-line review about how it didn't live up to its initial premise and promise, both of those. Having said that, it stayed in my mind since I've read it. I'm still thinking about it, talking about it, and so that's made me revise that initial kind of reaction of grumpy disappointment, to remember how the only reason that I had that level of disappointment was because of how much I had enjoyed her writing, and her ideas and her characters, and elements of plot all the way through the book, kind of up to the last bits. And yeah, so that's my mixed feelings, and I would be really interested to hear from anyone out there who's also read Little Eyes, about how you felt and whether your reaction was like mine at the end. Do tell me. And roll on next year's Latinx-A-THON. I shall try and be on it early enough to participate properly.